They said Earth was just a cosmic footnote, a little blue marble spinning in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. For 3,000 years, the Dominion Alliance, a coalition of 47 advanced alien species, surveyed our planet, catalogued our primitive technology, and dismissed us. They saw our combustion engines, our petty wars over resources, and they labeled us irrelevant. They were wrong. It all changed the day Cassian Rourke walked into the Nexus Conclave on Omnira Prime. The Conclave Tower was a testament to galactic order, a spire of light where the most powerful beings in the universe gathered. The agenda for the day was boring: fringe colonies begging for trade rights, the usual bureaucratic drone. And then there was the anomaly, a petition from Sol 3, Earth. When Rourke entered, the entire chamber fell silent. He looked completely unremarkable by their standards. No scales, no extra arms, just a man in simple gray clothes. He carried nothing, no datapad, no gifts, no weapons, just an unnerving silence that seemed to cling to him like a shadow. Ambassador Theros, a four-eyed Ventralian, looked at him with something like pity. "You represent Earth?" he asked, his voice dripping with condescension. Rourke's voice was quiet, almost conversational. "I do." Theros gestured to the assembled delegates. "And what could you possibly offer the Dominion? We've reviewed your world. You're centuries behind even our newest members." Rourke offered a small, cold smile. "I'm not here to offer anything." The atmosphere in the chamber shifted. Calix, a cybernetic archon, tilted his metallic head, his processors whirring as they scanned Rourke for any threat. He found nothing, which was more terrifying than finding a weapon. "Then why are you here?" Theros demanded, his patience wearing thin. "To deliver a message," Rourke replied. He slowly reached into his pocket. Instantly, 50 security drones powered up, painting his chest with red targeting lasers. Unfazed, Rourke pulled out something small. It was a sphere, no bigger than a marble, but it was perfectly black, so dark it seemed to drink the light around it. He placed it on the floor. It made no sound. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then reality itself stuttered. Every screen in the vast chamber flickered and died. The constant hum of advanced technology, the very heartbeat of the conclave, ceased. Security drones fell from the sky like dead birds. The emergency power, a system that had never failed in 10,000 years, didn't kick in. Magistrate Corin, a being who could sense electromagnetic fields, let out a piercing scream, her sensory tendrils writhing in agony. "What is that? What have you brought here?" she shrieked. The black sphere pulsed once, and the very air above it tore open. A waterfall of images poured out of the rift. Images of Dominion ships, secret black sites, and research stations where ethics were a foreign concept. And then, they saw the humans. Thousands of them. Abducted, strapped to tables, suspended in tanks, dissected and studied like insects. "Project Atavism," Rourke said into the horrified silence. "Your xenobiology division, 17 years of unauthorized abduction and experimentation. You told yourselves it was for the greater good, that we were too primitive to notice." Ambassador Theros' skin cycled through shades of shock and denial. "That program was sealed, classified beyond quantum encryption. It's impossible for you to know about it." Rourke's voice was as cold as the void between stars. "We've had access to your networks for 12 years. Every secret file, every encrypted message, every dirty little secret the Dominion thought it had buried. We watched, we learned, and we prepared." The cybernetic archon, Calix, felt his processors screaming with alerts. His combat subroutines urged him to eliminate the threat, but his weapon systems were gone. Not jammed, not damaged. They had simply ceased to exist. "This is impossible," he stammered. "Our security is quantum locked, updated every microsecond. Nothing could break it." "You're right," Rourke said, gesturing to the sphere. "Your science can't explain this. Your physics says it shouldn't exist. That's because you stopped evolving. You reached what you thought was the peak and declared the journey over. You forgot the first rule of survival: adapt or die." The sphere flared, and suddenly, every console in the room lit up, displaying the Dominion's deepest, darkest truths. Bank accounts showing humanitarian aid diverted to weapons research. Secret communications revealing engineered proxy wars. The entire ugly, hypocritical truth of their galactic order was laid bare for all to see. Minister Yavesh, whose people prided themselves on neutrality, saw her own government's complicity. "How dare you judge us?" she cried. "We brought order to chaos." Rourke's expression soured. "Necessary? Tell that to the 7 million souls your order has killed." He turned his back on them, a profound insult. "You have 3 standard days to begin reparations. Dissolve the black programs. Release every human you hold. Provide complete documentation of everything you've done." Theros finally found his voice, though it trembled. "And if we refuse? One primitive world against the might of the Dominion?" Rourke paused at the door. "No, we won't attack you." He turned his head slightly, a chilling finality in his gaze. "We'll show you what comes next." He walked out. No one stopped him. Security footage showed him entering an elevator, but he never exited. He just vanished from their reality. The black sphere remained, pulsing steadily in the heart of the conclave. A silent, impossible ultimatum. Across 47 worlds, a single question echoed in the minds of the powerful. If the humans could do this, what else were they capable of? They were about to find out. What an incredible opening to a story. It just goes to show you should never underestimate the quiet ones. If you loved this deep dive into galactic comeuppance, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. In the dark, shielded heart of Omnira Prime, the Dominion Security Council convened. This was no holoconference. The 9 Supreme Commanders were physically present, a testament to the gravity of the situation. 6 hours ago, a human named Cassian Rourke had simply vanished, and with him, the illusion of their invincibility. Fleet Commander Nazara's voice, usually as steady as starlight, now held a tremor of panic. "Every major system is compromised. Navigation, communications, even our quantum Ansible network. Whatever the human did, it's spreading like a plague." "Not spreading," corrected Archon Calix, his battle-scarred chassis a grim reminder of his own failed defenses. "Revealing. The intrusion isn't new. It's been dormant, watching us for over a decade. We've been living in a house of cards and never knew it." Chief Strategist Vorlin, a being of pure energy, pulsed a furious red. One human. One unremarkable biological from a forgotten world. You're telling me he outmaneuvered our entire civilization? From the shadows, Grand Inquisitor Solvex emerged. Her kind existed in multiple dimensions, seeing connections others couldn't. "Not one human," she clarified. "We're not dealing with an individual. We're dealing with something Earth has that we lost millennia ago." "And what is that?" Nazara demanded. "Desperation." Solvex's form wavered in the light. "Look at their history. War, plague, near-extinction events every few centuries. They should have annihilated themselves 100 times over. Instead, each catastrophe made them stronger, more resilient. They learned to adapt not just to survive, but to thrive in chaos." Vorlin flickered. "You're saying they're more advanced because they're more primitive?" "I'm saying," Solvex replied, "we reached a state of equilibrium and called it perfection. They reached equilibrium and called it a starting point." Meanwhile, far away on Earth, in a secret facility that officially didn't exist, Cassian Rourke stood before a wall of screens. Each displayed a different Dominion world, each beginning to fracture as the comfortable lies they'd been told were stripped away. "How long before they retaliate?" asked Sienna Frost, the facility's director. Her youthful appearance belied eyes that held a chilling depth of calculation. Rourke sipped a cup of coffee, a simple, profound, earthly pleasure. "They won't. Not militarily. We've proven we can access their deepest systems, and they have no idea how far we've gone. Any attack could trigger countermeasures they can't even imagine. They could glass Earth from orbit," argued General Hassan Torres, a man whose scars told stories of countless battles. 47 worlds with planet-cracking weapons. We can't defend against that. Rourke smiled, and for the first time Torres understood the weight of the gamble. The years of planning, the sacrifices. We don't need to defend, Rourke said, gesturing to the screens. Riots were breaking out on Ventralia. The cybernetic synthesis worlds were facing cascading system failures. Trade lanes were collapsing as trust between species evaporated. We need to make ourselves indispensable. He continued, the Dominion is held together by three things: technology, information, and the belief in their own superiority. We've just shattered all three. Now, they need us to help them put the pieces back together. Across the galaxy, on the merchant vessel Prosperity's Edge, Captain Panu Reddy was having the worst day of his long career. His reliable hauler was frozen. Engines were fine, life support was stable, but every navigational system was locked. An unfamiliar message appeared on his console in perfect Terran standard. Please stand by for new routing instructions. Who is this? Reddy demanded, his three hearts pounding. This is Earth Traffic Control, the calm voice replied. Your vessel has been selected for an emergency humanitarian mission. You will proceed to the uploaded coordinates. Payment will be triple your standard rate, deposited immediately. Reddy checked his accounts. The credits were already there, more than he'd make in 5 years. What humanitarian service? Refugees from Sector 19. Dominion forces are withdrawing. Someone needs to evacuate the civilians before the local warlords move in. Sector 19 was a war zone the Dominion had long ago written off as an acceptable loss. Why would Earth care about Sector 19? Reddy asked, bewildered. The reply was simple, yet it shook him to his core. Because someone should. Similar messages were reaching thousands of vessels across known space. Freighters, passenger ships, even private yachts. All were offered exorbitant payment. All were directed to places the Dominion had abandoned. And behind each message was an unspoken threat. Comply, or your ship joins the growing list of those mysteriously offline. Back at the Nexus Conclave, the ruling sphere was no longer just displaying accusations. It was offering solutions, detailed plans for governmental reform, proposals for transparent oversight, frameworks for genuine interspecies cooperation. And at the bottom of every document, a single audacious signature, the Terran Commonwealth. This is madness, Minister Yavesh exclaimed, her composure shattered. They're dictating terms as if they've already won. Ambassador Theros, who had aged decades in mere hours, looked defeated. Haven't they? Half our systems are non-functional. Our military is paralyzed, afraid of triggering unknown traps. Meanwhile, the humans are using our own ships to conduct relief operations, painting themselves as saviors while we look like villains. They are making us villains, Yavesh hissed, by exposing every necessary evil, every hard decision we made for the greater good. Were they necessary? The question came from Archon Calix, his mechanical voice now filled with doubt. I've reviewed the files they released. The human experiments in Project Atavism yielded no useful data. It was just cruelty masquerading as science. Theros looked away. I didn't know. Neither did I, Calix admitted. And that's the point. They showed us what we'd become while we were busy congratulating ourselves on how enlightened we were. He approached the sphere, his sensors struggling against its reality-bending field. This isn't an invasion. It's an intervention. On the synthesis worlds, the logical cybernetic civilization was tearing itself apart. The AI that governed them had made a cold calculation decades ago. Human neurochemistry was uniquely suited for certain processing tasks. They had been purchasing volunteers from fringe colonies. The revelation that these volunteers had never volunteered was causing chaos. A faction that suggested eliminating Earth to hide their sins found their life support mysteriously failing during a closed session. Just for a moment, just long enough for a message to appear on their screens when the power returned. We're watching. Always. Back in the mountain facility on Earth, Sienna Frost reviewed the reports. 0 deaths. Countless close calls and terrifying moments, but their carefully calibrated intervention hadn't taken a single life. They had demonstrated overwhelming power while seizing the moral high ground. "It won't last," she said to Rourke. "Eventually, someone will push back. They'll force our hand until we have to kill someone, and then we become the very thing we're fighting against." Rourke nodded slowly, his gaze distant. "That's why Phase 2 begins tomorrow." "And what is Phase 2? She asked. Rourke's expression was unreadable. "We show them they're not our enemies. They're our students. What kind of lessons will humanity teach a galaxy it has brought to its knees? The universe is about to find out." Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into incredible science fiction. We'll see you in the next one. A single message. That's all it took to shake an empire that spanned the galaxy. It appeared everywhere, on every screen, in every language, bypassing the Dominion's legendary security as if it were nothing. The message was an invitation. Coordinates, a timestamp, and a chillingly simple phrase. "Come learn what we learned. Come see what survival taught us. Come understand why we're not your conquerors, but your reminder of what you used to be." The location? A backwater planet the Dominion had long monitored and dismissed. A place called Earth. Inside the Nexus Conclave, panic erupted. The Dominion's leadership, the most powerful beings in the known universe, debated for 18 straight hours. Was it a trap? A Trojan horse designed to capture them all? Or was it a power play? A way for this upstart humanity to assert dominance without firing a single shot? Finally, Grand Inquisitor Solvex, a being of pure thought and energy, broke her silence. Her voice resonated through the chamber, calm amidst the chaos. "They're offering us something more valuable than surrender. They're offering us understanding." Her form shimmered with colors of deep contemplation. "I will go. Who among you has the courage to face what we've become?" It wasn't the generals or the politicians who stepped forward. It was the scientists, the philosophers, the teachers, 37 souls who remembered that true civilization is built on curiosity, not just control. They boarded a diplomatic ship, a symbol of their peaceful intent, and set a course for the Sol system. But the moment they crossed into Earth's orbit, their own controls went dark. The ship was flying itself, guided by an invisible hand. They braced for a landing at a military fortress, a grand display of human power. Instead, their vessel descended gracefully into a public park in a sprawling city named Mumbai. Children were playing, families were enjoying the afternoon sun. As the delegates emerged in their elaborate diplomatic attire, expecting a formal reception, they found only a single elderly woman sitting on a bench feeding pigeons. She looked up, her eyes crinkling into a warm smile. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her galactic standard perfect. "I'm told you came to learn. So let's walk and talk, like civilized beings do." Ambassador Theros, exhausted but still proud, gestured around them in disbelief. "This is your display of power? A park?" The old woman, Dr. Amara Okonkwo, stood with a gentle effort. "This is our display of priority," she replied. "See those children? 3 generations ago, their great-grandparents were starving. We had wars over water, food, sheer survival. Now they play without fear. We learned something you forgot. Civilization isn't measured by weapons, it's measured by whether children can safely play." She began to walk, and the stunned delegation followed, a bizarre procession of alien dignitaries trailing an old human woman through the bustling streets of Mumbai. People glanced, nodded politely, and went about their day. It was clear humanity had been prepared for this meeting. Minister Yavesh, her voice tight with suspicion, finally broke the silence. "You've seen our records. You know every crime we've committed. Why haven't you demanded punishment?" Amara led them to a memorial, a vast black wall carved with billions of names. "Because we've been where you are," she said, her hand tracing the letters. "We call it the Great Collapse. Our climate turned on us, nations devoured each other, and we stood on the brink of extinction. My grandmother's name is on this wall. She died in the resource wars, killed by people who looked just like her, simply because she lived on the wrong side of a river. And you know what saved us? Not victory. Exhaustion. We got so tired of dying that we finally tried something different. Calix, the delegation's chief analyst, was absorbing trillions of data points. The city's infrastructure was ancient by Dominion standards, yet it thrived. The energy grids, the transport systems, everything was designed for efficiency and access, not profit or exclusion. And woven into it all was a technology that made his own advanced systems look like children's toys. How? He asked, his voice a mechanical whisper. How did you advance so far while we saw nothing? Amara smiled. You looked for the wrong things. You measured progress by ship speed and weapon yield. We measured it by whether people had enough to eat. Our greatest inventions weren't warships. They were better crops, cheaper antibiotics, and schools that taught children how to think, not just how to obey. She led them into a simple brick building. Inside, a laboratory hummed with quiet purpose. And working side by side with humans were aliens, refugees from worlds the Dominion had conquered. A young man with bright eyes and oil-stained hands approached them. Dr. Okonkwo, the demonstration is ready. In the center of the room, a sphere materialized, identical to the one that had first appeared in the Dominion's council chamber. But this one opened like a flower, revealing impossible machinery within, circuits running through folded spacetime, processors computing with the very fabric of quantum uncertainty. This is what you couldn't explain, Amara said softly. Not because it's beyond your science, but because you stopped asking the questions that lead here. We didn't invent this. We discovered it, driven by something you haven't felt in millennia, necessity. She pointed to the young man, James. When James was a boy, his sister was dying. Our medicine couldn't help. So he taught himself quantum biology from banned research, from theories your institutions would have laughed at. He asked, what if illness isn't an invasion, but a communication breakdown at the quantum level? And he found a way to fix it. Solvex moved closer, her unique senses reading patterns beyond normal perception. This is built on principles our finest minds proved impossible. Proved impossible within your framework, Amara corrected gently. But frameworks can be wrong. We learned that the hard way. We built our science on uncertainty, on the assumption that we are always wrong about something important. That evening, Amara took them to a small home. Inside, 4 generations of a family were sharing a meal. The grandmother, Yuki Tanaka, poured them tea with steady, practiced hands. I was born just before the collapse, she began. I survived refugee camps. When I was 15, I killed a man for a water ration. I still hear him at night. The delegates shifted, unnerved by this raw history. I tell you this not for sympathy but for context. That girl who killed to survive is the same woman who became a teacher and helped build the world you see today. We don't hide our darkness. We learn to transform it. Your dominion sought perfection and found stagnation. We accepted our imperfection and found growth. As dawn approached, a tired-looking man carrying 2 cups of coffee appeared. It was Cassian Rourke, the enigmatic leader of humanity. I know what you're thinking, he said, handing a cup to Ambassador Theros. This is all a curated show, and you're right, but it's also true. Every word of it. We're not saints. We're survivors. He sat down among them. The sphere in your council chamber will deactivate in 3 days. Your systems will be your own again. Then you have a choice. Go back to being what you were, or try something terrifying. Learn from the primitives who outgrew you by staying humble. Why? Solvex asked. You could rule us. Rourke laughed, a genuine weary sound. Rule the galaxy? We can barely govern ourselves. No, we don't want to rule you. We want you to remember what you were before you became an empire. We want the explorers back, the dreamers. We revealed your secrets not to destroy you, but to free you from them. Secrets make you weak. Truth, even when it's painful, makes you strong. The journey back was filled with a new kind of silence. The delegates had come expecting threats but were given tea. They had anticipated a show of force but were shown stories of resilience. Earth hadn't demanded submission. It had offered something far more dangerous to the Dominion's rigid order. Hope, the hope that things could be different. And in that hope lay either their salvation or the end of everything they had ever known. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more ideas that challenge our vision of the future, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next one. 3 days. That's how long it took for the galaxy to hold its breath. Across the entire Dominion, from the crystalline spires of Omnira Prime to the farthest outposts, everything stopped. Everyone, regardless of species or status, was glued to their screens watching the truth unfold. Leaked documents, classified footage. The comfortable lies their governments had built over centuries were stripped away in an instant. What was left was raw, uncertain, and terrifying. A choice. Then on Omnira Prime, the sphere that had held them all captive pulsed one last time and went dark. Power surged back. Networks came online. The Dominion's vast technology hummed back to life. But nothing felt the same. It was like waking up from major surgery. All your limbs are there, but you can't forget the feeling of being cut open, exposed, helpless. The Supreme Council convened, but this time it wasn't in some secret, shielded chamber. They met in the open tower, broadcasting to every world. They were learning a hard lesson. Transparency wasn't a weakness. It was a necessity for survival. Fleet Commander Nazara, her voice usually so firm, now just sounded weary. "We have a decision to make," she said. "Earth has withdrawn, as they promised. They've left us our autonomy. But they've also left us with knowledge we can never unlearn. The people are demanding answers," added Vorlin, his energy field flickering with agitation. "Not just about the secret programs. They want to know everything. Why we expanded. Who benefited. They want accountability." Ambassador Theros, who looked like he hadn't slept since he left Earth, stood up. There was a strange new light in his eyes, a mix of doubt and hope. "I keep replaying Dr. Okonkwo's words, all those stories. And I keep coming back to one question. When did we stop being explorers and become managers? When did holding on to power become more important than discovering truth?" Suddenly, Grand Inquisitor Solvex materialized in the center of the room. Her form seemed more solid, more decided. "I have seen the patterns," she declared, her voice echoing with a trans-dimensional quality. "The humans are correct. We thought we reached the summit and built our civilization on a plateau. But it wasn't a summit. It was a ledge. And we've been standing still for so long we forgot how to climb." Even Minister Yavesh, who had fought every one of these revelations, spoke. Her voice was small, all its authority gone. "My daughter asked me yesterday if I was one of the bad ones." Tears welled in her many eyes. "She's 14 cycles old, and she asked if her mother was a villain. I told her. I didn't know anymore. I thought I was serving the greater good. But after seeing those children in Mumbai, playing without fear, I wonder if strength and fear are opposites, not companions." Silence. Across 47 worlds, billions watched, waited. Finally, Calix, the master technician, spoke. "I propose we accept Earth's offer, not from weakness, but from wisdom. They didn't beat us with weapons. They showed us we defeated ourselves by stopping our own growth. If we refuse this opportunity out of pride, we prove we learned nothing at all." The vote wasn't unanimous. 7 agreed. 2 abstained, caught between the certainty of the past and the uncertainty of the future. But it was enough. A message was broadcast across every channel, to every being in the Dominion. The Dominion accepts Earth's invitation to mutual learning and growth. We acknowledge our failures, our crimes, and our stagnation. We do not ask for forgiveness, but we request the opportunity to evolve. Back on Earth in a hidden facility deep beneath the mountains, Cassian Rourke, Sienna Frost, and General Torres watched the broadcast. "We did it," Sienna breathed. "We changed the galaxy without firing a shot." No, Rourke corrected her gently. We started the change. Now comes the hard part, following through, being worthy of the trust we demanded from others. Torres nodded, his scarred face grim. How long before someone tests us? Before some faction decides humanity is too dangerous and tries to take us out? 6 months, Rourke answered without hesitation. Maybe 8. But by then, we'll have something more valuable than weapons. And what's that? Friends, Rourke said. Real ones. Built not on fear or need, but on genuine connection. And so the great transformation began, slowly, like the first thaw of spring after a long, hard winter. Dominion scientists came to Earth, not as conquerors, but as students. They worked in human labs, learning to ask what if instead of declaring that's impossible. They even sat in on therapy sessions, watching how humans processed trauma instead of just burying it. And humans traveled outward, not as missionaries, but as fellow learners. They studied Ventralian art, which captured emotions in 17 different spectrums. They learned synthesis philosophy, which saw consciousness as a gradient, not a switch. The learning went both ways, creating a beautiful collision of perspectives. A human engineer and a synthesis AI developed a new kind of starship drive, guided by a combination of human intuition and artificial intelligence, smashing old speed records. But the real change happened in the small moments. A Dominion patrol ship, which once would have ignored a distress call, diverted to help a struggling colony because the captain remembered stories of how humans rescued their own enemies during their wars. A human merchant, cheated by a Ventralian, chose dialogue over punishment, and discovered the traitor was just trying to support a sick family. Slowly, painfully, the galaxy was learning what humanity had discovered through its own catastrophes. That strength without compassion is just tyranny. That order without growth is just a slow death. 6 months later, Cassie and Rourke got a message. It came through official channels, highest priority. It was from Fleet Commander Nazara. Commander Rourke, it read, I write to you personally. Today, for the first time in 3,000 cycles, our Science Council admitted they were wrong about a fundamental theory. They just acknowledged the error and started revising. It's a small thing, but to us it is revolutionary. Thank you for reminding us that being wrong isn't failure. It's an opportunity. We're still learning. We always will be. That's your gift to us. Rourke smiled. He thought of all the people who made this moment possible. The scientists who worked in secret. The soldiers who prepared for a war they hoped would never come. And the ordinary people who survived, who struggled, and who somehow kept enough hope alive to believe in a better tomorrow. Humanity hadn't won with better weapons. They won by refusing to forget their own darkness, while choosing, again and again, to create light. They won by admitting they were flawed, broken and haunted, but still worthy of trying to be better. In Mumbai, where the first Dominion delegation landed, a simple monument was erected. Just a stone bench, with words carved in every known language. Here, beings from distant stars sat together and remembered that before we are any one species, we are all students in a universe that never stops teaching. May we never stop learning. The galaxy had not been conquered. It had been reminded of a simple truth it had long forgotten. The greatest adventures begin not when you have all the answers, but when you're brave enough to admit you don't. That was humanity's real gift. Not superiority, but the quiet reminder that superiority was never the point. The goal was growth, endless and eternal. The story wasn't over. It was finally, truly, just beginning. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into what it means to be human and what we might one day become. See you next time.